So today I want to talk a little bit about the question Machiavelli raises about whether a statesman has to be a good person in order to be a good statesman. And of course Machiavelli answers in the negative. Now, for Machiavelli, the statesman is constrained both by his domestic and his international environment. On each stage he has the opportunity to cooperate or not cooperate with others. Sometimes cooperation is good for everyone, but frequently it's only good if everyone cooperates. Some people will recognize the prisoner's dilemma here, and I think this is in fact what Machiavelli is talking about. Statesmen often have an incentive as statesmen not to live up to their agreements, either domestically or internationally, in exchange for short-term gain. After all, for the politician, and particularly for the politician in Machiavelli's time, defeat means there is no long term. Let me give you an example. Imagine an alliance between France and England, trying to repel an invasion, say, from Germany and Austria. If France shows up to the battlefield without England, it's going to get slaughtered. And if England shows up to the battlefield and the French stay home smoking cigarettes, then it looks like England is the one that's going to get slaughtered. Given this fact, given this set of incentives, it's quite possible that neither will want to show up to the battlefield for fear that the other one will not show up and that therefore they will get slaughtered. The bottom line is, and this is Machiavelli's point, is that being honorable in a hard world is often the same as being the sucker, particularly when this world is full of incentives for people to betray and not to be good. So in this sort of world, you need to learn to be crafty, deceitful, and often very violent if you want to survive and have a career as a statesman at all. Now, a lot of people, including Plato and Aristotle, take the opposite view to Machiavelli. They claim that in order to be a good statesman, you actually have to be a good person. How can good policy ever be made, they might ask, by people with bad motivations? How can good governments operate if people don't trust them, right? People don't trust government to enforce policy, if they don't trust government to make the right sorts of rules. How can a better world in general be made when you're spending all of your resources trying to defend against betrayal and people trying to take advantage of you rather than spending it on investing for the future? Critics of Machiavelli probably call him too short-sighted and perhaps insufficiently sensitive to the relationship between character, actions, and consequences in the world. Now, what Machiavelli is saying is that the circumstances of politics, right, the circumstances, both domestic and international, that statesmen find themselves in, force people to act in this bad way. It also forces people to seem to be one way, pretend to act one way, and in fact act another, right? Appear to be other than good is the phrase that Machiavelli uses. Critics find this view or this attitude of Machiavelli is entirely too permissive, and it's entirely too likely to excuse all manner of bad behavior on the part of statesmen that they can then claim is excused by the fact that they live in a difficult, hard world. Is there a way for Machiavelli to answer these sorts of criticisms? Well, maybe. Machiavelli, I don't think, ever says that statesmen should not face the consequences if their misdeeds are uncovered, right? He's just saying they should appear to be one way and actually behave another. After all, if you get uncovered, let's say if your misdeeds are discovered, then perhaps you weren't a very good politician in the first place. Now, whether Machiavelli's line of response is successful or not, I think depends in part on whether you see Machiavelli's work as a work of political theory or a work of practical ethics. If it's political theory, then the book is primarily about what should be legal and what should be illegal. If it's practical ethics, then the concern of the book is about what the statesman should or should not do, but not primarily what ought to be legal or not.